Do you have orphan quilt blocks laying around? Is your scrap bin overflowing? Placemats are a great project to use up those singleton blocks or play with your scraps or just try a new technique with no long-term commitment. Today, I'm going to share 3 different placemat ideas with you to inspire you for your next quilting session. These placemats look great in holiday fabrics, so you could whip up a new set for your own table. They make great hostess gifts, and everyone can use a fresh set of placemats on their table. So take a look and let's have fun quilting. Let's start with the easy improv style of stack and slash placemats. You can make a set of 4 placemats with just 4 fat quarters. Let's get started.
Okay, we are making scrappy placemats, and I am going to layer my fat quarter half yard pieces to cut the wonky shapes that we're going to use in our placemat. And I've got 4 fabrics here, so I will end up with 4 placemats, and I've put the smallest piece on the top here, and that will kind of be my guide for the other pieces. And I just want to make 2 random cuts, and then I will shuffle my fabrics. So I want an angular cut this direction through all 4 of my fabrics, and then I'm going to do an angular cut this direction. So this piece is going to stay the way it is. Then this second piece, I'm going to take 1 piece and move it to the bottom. And then this other piece, I'm going to move 2 layers to the bottom. And then this last one, I just bring the bottom piece up to the top. And then I will have 4 different fabrics showing in each placemat. And we can just sew our 4 patches. I will do that stack together, and then I will sew this stack together and finally join them on that long seam. And then we will talk about the size of our final placemat. I've sewn the short seam, and now I just need to match them up and sew the long seam. When I match those seams, the actual seam is going to go at an angle, and it kind of makes an A if I imagine that seam on the other side. They're not going to line up right on top of each other. So I just get those close and put a pin in to keep those approximately in the right place. This is a kind of wonky improv design, so it doesn't have to be exact. And there we have our stack and slash placemat ready to trim down. We have our scrappy stack and slash 4-patch done, so we need to trim it down to make our placemat. I use a different placemat that I like the size of as my guide, and I know that about 12 inches wide by 15 inches long is a good size for my table. So I need to trim this down, and I will start by hanging that over the edge. I'll finish that up, but then I'm going to measure over 15 and trim that edge of my placemat using the guidelines on my cutting mat. And then I can turn that around, and now that I've got a nice straight edge, I can line that up with the measurement there and my 15-inch line right here on my mat. And then I said I wanted it 12 inches wide. So I need to get myself well, first I want to, and this one is only going to be 11. So I guess we'll have 11-inch placemats, or 10.5, however that works. So I'm going to give myself a straight edge and then measure the other side based off this straight edge. And you can see that looks like about a normal size placemat. So when we're doing improv wonky piecing, you kind of have to go with the flow if things don't line up or measure out to exactly what you expected.
Next, we have a variety of quilt block designs in the Fresh Start placemats. The first center block pattern is called Candy Dish. The half square triangles make a traditional broken dishes unit in the center, and then additional half square triangles on the corners make it look like sweet wrapped candy. Next, I use traditional flying geese units offset and facing opposite directions, so I call this block Which Way Goose. I used rectangles with triangles in opposite corners to make the spokes of my classic windmill block. Finally, we have Square Kiss, a square in a square center kissed by half square triangles on the corner. Enjoy! You can set a festive table by choosing holiday fabrics for any of these placemat designs. I love my twister rulers, and you can make a great set of placemats with just 4 charm squares. Links to these patterns are in the video description box below. My favorite finishing method for small projects such as placemats is to use a facing. Let's take a look.
Okay, I've layered my placemat with batting, and then the top and the backing are right sides together, and I'm going to stitch around the edge. I'm going to start in the lower third of the long side of my placemat so that I can leave a gap and have room to turn the project right side out. So I'm going to back stitch a couple stitches and then go on towards the corner. Needle down, turn everything just 90 degrees, keep everything all lined up, and stitch to the corner. Checking to make sure that I've got a 1/4 inch around that whole thing, and I am stitching to the corner. Turn the corner. This was the last corner, so I can see the outline of that center white square through the batting, so I know I need to stop there so that I have a gap to turn the project. Back stitch there. Double check that I've got a good seam all the way around, and then I'm going to snip just to, you know, a tiny hair to the side of that corner, because I don't want that bulk in my corner when I turn my project right side out. Had some pins here that I'll take out. And then we can find our gap between the two pieces of fabric. I'm going to the corner that's furthest away, and I'm going to gently turn this right side out. And then I'm pushing, using my finger there in the corner to get that all extended so we don't have any funny puckers, and you can kind of work that around in your fingers to get that to a point. And then the same thing in these other two corners. Poke that all the way out. You can also get a knitting needle or chopsticks, something. If you use a pen, make sure you've got the cap on securely so you don't, although I don't suppose it would matter too much if you marked up the inside of your, and then I'm just working that seam down so that everything lays flat. And then for this gap, I'm going to turn it, fold that fabric in about 1/4 of an inch. It will naturally want to follow along with its fabric line, and I'm going to take a needle and thread and whip stitch that closed. So that's the only bit of handwork that you need to do on these placemats, and then we can just do some straight stitching to quilt along those lines, and you will have your placemat ready to use.
Will your holiday table be set with quilted placemats? Tell me your favorite pattern in the comments below. If you are looking for some holiday fabric projects, check out my 12 Days of Christmas series. Happy quilting! I'll see you in the next video.